Well, club hurling returned last weekend, but not as we know it. We had elbow bumps, gazebos and water breaks, but Ballygunner brought some sense of normality by beating Tallow and extending their unbeaten run to 34 games, while there are also wins for De La Salle, Mount Sion and 4 Mile Water. Well, Tony Ryan from the Dungarvan Observer has braved the elements to join us here in studio, and Mac Dara Mac Donncha from the Dungarvan Leader is also on the line to talk us through round 2 over the bank holiday weekend. And lads, great to see that the sports sections are again packed with GA reports. It's been so long since that was the case. Tony, you were around a lot of the grounds last weekend. Did it feel any different attending matches with the new COVID-19 restrictions?
It did, of course, Tomas, and I think really it's time to review that whole situation, because there's a lot of local Gaels now and they'd like to go to matches that their own clubs aren't playing, and they can't do so. You know, I was looking across at the far side of the Fraher Field on a number of occasions, and there's way more than 2 metres available for fans out there, so if you have 400 above in the north and just 200 down here, it doesn't add up. Even though someone did say at the Dungarvan 4 Mile Water match that there was a great atmosphere at it, even though there was a small attendance.
Yeah.
And that, but overall I think the gate should be open, let the people in.
Mac Dara, to bring in on that point, would you agree with Tony? Like, we've seen pictures from right across the country, people getting up on diggers, cherry pickers, step ladders. There was even a photo on the Observer of supporters sitting up on the wall in Fraher Field. Like, it's really pity that there's no more than 200 can see the matches at the moment.
Of course, and the big stadiums, like we saw the Gaelic Grounds, could take 45,000. Wexford Park can take 30 something thousand, and we'll see Páirce I think tomorrow night at the Cork Championship. You know, capacity, it's crazy. It doesn't make any sense. But look. Them are the rules, as I said. Them are the rules, so we have to stick by them. And if it means somebody less getting COVID or a life being saved, then it's worth it.
Absolutely, and like Liam Cahill and the selectors were out and about last week at Tony, and they must have been pretty pleased with what they saw from the county men. Well,
Tomas, they were at as many games as we were at ourselves. You know, any time we went to a venue, they were there. They were out in New Look Colligan for the Toreen game and the Geraldines. They were at the Fraher Field, they were over in Cappoquin, they were everywhere. And I would say that the county men did play well. I wouldn't say they unearthed any, talent. There was a lot of talent there, but a talent that would make the county scene, I don't think so. But they were doing their job anyway last weekend.
Yeah, Mac Dara was Jamie Barron, the county star that shone brightest of all with 6 points from play on Sunday night.
Absolutely, he was magical. Playing as well as I've ever seen him play, to be quite honest with you. And when he does, he's a fantastic player. Great man to get in a small, what looks like an absolute cul-de-sac, come out with the ball, put over the bar. Like, he's a great low centre of gravity, and that really helps him. And when Jamie's going well, like Waterford are going well, and Jamie was an all-star in 16 and 17 on the shortlist for Hurler there in 17, probably should have won it. His form would have dipped since then, but certainly going on what we saw last Sunday, that's back.
Yeah, Tony, looking back at that game last Sunday night, it was the closest of all of the 4 matches. Was Jamie the difference between the two sides in the end?
Well, he was really scoring 6 points from play from midfield, but overall, our club will be very disappointed with the defeat last Sunday. That I think a lot of the basics of the game and the mechanics of the game were not very, very good at them. And we had 13 wides during the game, and at least if half of those were hitting low into the full forward line, maybe we might have got a better return. And as well as that, there's things like we're very bad on the breaking ball, and with our wing backs hitting straight ball in instead of diagonal ball and things like that. Like last year, Tom Barron was corner forward, and every ball was played into him corner forward. And the same this year, but we didn't cop onto that at all. And you need it. Sometimes the 4 mile player hitting the ball in, he was going for Tom. So if we had a player that went in front, an extra man in front of him or something like that, it might have helped. But I think overall we kind of played too much open hurling around the middle of the field and all that. And I think we need to get into the coaching of it more and the mechanics of the game if we're going to progress. Like, it looks at this stage, it's going to be a short year for us, because I would fancy Lismore to beat 4 Mile and to beat us, and then those two teams that are on through. But I think we have a lot of work to do to get back to anyway the way we were.
Yeah, and I guess it's Lismore versus 4 Mile Water, 3 o'clock Saturday, Fraher Field, first up this weekend. Tony, why do you fancy Lismore for this one?
Well, I was watching Lismore last year, and they played De La Salle in the game. Now, to me, De La Salle, they're not as good as Ballygunner, but they're a bit behind. But they're a very good team. They're the second best team, but I think Lismore are the third best team. That game last year, it was only at the end of the game that De La Salle pulled away, and Lismore were very much in the game and really played well. And I think they have a few extra from underage coming through the whole time. So I would fancy Lismore against 4 Mile Water. I think 4 Mile had every motivation against us. We beat them well last year. They were without Jamie last year. The bookies did them a favour and making them 3-1 and us 2-5. So they had everything going for them. And as Mac Dara always says, they have no football played at this time of the year. So the total concentration on hurling, But then it's only a 6-day return. They got a bad injury to Michael O'Gorman, and I don't know, can they go up to that height again next week? If they do, fair play to them. But I think Lismore will have a good run in this year's championship.
Well, would you concur with Tony, Mac Dara?
Yeah, by and large, it's more. I've been getting a few new players kind of in the last few. They were there for a while, and maybe they didn't have really that injection of youth that any team needs. But like they have the two Daly's got now. Although you hear, I don't know how true it is, that Era might be an injured out tomorrow. But the Vera they've called, the Jack Pendergast got, and you add them to a Boris is as good a club forward as there is in Waterford. Simple as. I mean, we've seen him time and time again winning games on his own. And you have the Barrys there, the Pendergast Paddy was centre forward last year, played very well in it. Interested to see whether he operates there this year. And they're last Sunday, by and large, up front, Patrick Hunt was on his own. He didn't really have the help. I was a bit surprised, I don't know if Tony agree with me, that Gavin was kind of left in the full forward line. I thought Gavin's better hurling is out towards the half forward line, towards breaking ball, because he used to go for 2 or 3 points, but he was kind of starved of possession to a certain extent in the full forward line. And he's a guy that he thrives on space, which he wasn't really getting in there. But going back to Lismore, they'd be a step up now. Dungarvan didn't play well last Sunday, really, to be quite honest with you. They did improve in the second half. Now, and I know what Tony is saying about the 6-day turnaround for 4 Mile, that's difficult, but the sharpness that you get from having played a championship game is invaluable. And 4 Mile will have that. Lismore won't have that at the very start of the game. How quickly will they settle in? These are small things that can sometimes turn games. But you'll probably still say Lismore are probably the favourites, yes. But look, 4 Mile won't be a bit upset at not being given any chance.
So just a superior firepower for Lismore to get them over the line in their opening game of round 2. And Tony, turning to the Saturday evening game, 7 o'clock, Abbeyside versus Ballysaggart. I mean, we've 3 teams this weekend that need results to keep their championship hopes alive. Ballysaggart, Clonea and Tallow. It was a bit of a rude awakening for the Blue and Navy last weekend against De La Salle, and it doesn't get any easier against Abbeyside Saturday evening. Oh,
well, they would have been expecting that last weekend, but I think what was noticeable was that the pace of De La Salle and their hurling was on a higher level than what Ballysaggart are used to playing. Now, whether that will have helped them last week for this game coming up. If they lose, they're gone. Abbeyside know if they win that they're actually in the quarterfinals before they play De La Salle at all, because they'll have 2 points, and Abbeyside will be happy that they got this draw, that got this group. Maybe not De La Salle, but they would see themselves as being better than Ballysaggart.
Mac Dara, could we see 2 county teammates coming up against each other, Conor Prunty versus Stephen Bennett, perhaps?
Quite likely. And it's always good to see county players mark one another. I mean, even go back to last Sunday, the battle between Dara Lyons and Jamie. Like Jamie probably he did come up from top, but Dara contributed well to the game as well. But so it's always good to see lads mark one another. Yeah, I thought that Conor Dixon might have been doing some man marking last week. He didn't. It'll be interesting to see would he pick up Maurice Shanahan in this game, but or in their game. Sorry, so you probably will see Conor on Stephen. Yeah, looking at Ballysaggart last Saturday, Stephen played well by their own standards now, and I always say that it's by your own standards to be judged. Kieran and Shane were quite enough. I mean, for Ballysaggart to have any chance, the 3 boys need to be on full power, full tilt. Because they're 3 exceptional hurlers, we all know. But for Ballysaggart to have any chance, they really need to up it. Arabic side probably are the favourites here. You know, they've been thereabouts the last couple of years. Got caught last year by Dungarvan. I think possibly with their eyes slightly off the ball, one of those great games. But I think that I'd be sorry to have too much for this for Ballysagger here.
And Tony, speaking of Liam Cahill and players that he'll be looking out for, does Michael Kiley come into that category, especially after the scoring spree he went on against Dungarvan in last year's quarter-final? Got 2-4 in that particular game.
Yeah, I said it will be interesting now. I think he has his studies behind him, and the leaving cert, whatever way it went, it's behind him, and he played very well against us last year, no doubt about it. He's actually even, I didn't see him with a while, he's after even growing more. He's a taller forward even at this stage, you know, and begin to fill out. You know, so I'd imagine.
Maybe you were getting small, Tony. Didn't think of that, no?
Thanks, Mac Dara. But,
yeah, you're right. Anytime.
No, I have no reply to you. But you know, he's definitely Liam Cahill will be at that match, I'd say. Anyway, to see Michael Kiley, you know, and it will tell us a lot about. I mean, they say like what is it? Form is temporary, class is permanent. I think that he'll show his class again now. This weekend it'll be very hard for the Ballysagger full back to stop this man scoring. Yeah,
plenty of county players on show both sides. Conor Prunty, Neil Montgomery, Michael Kiley, you know, the Bennetts for Ballysagger as well. That's thrown in at 7 o'clock on Saturday evening. Switching to Sunday, Mac Dara, the All-Eastern affair, Rowan Moore versus Clonea, 2 o'clock at Welsh Park. Rowan Moore have been in 4 of the last 5 county quarter-finals. Can their new manager Peter Queally bring them any further this time around?
Well, I'll tell you one thing, Peter will have them organised and he'll get the very best out of them. And like in the past couple of years, yeah, they've been a quarter-final side. They've been a side that are hard to beat, but sometimes they find it hard to win themselves as well, you know. Then the old argument has always gone on about where to play Billy Nolan. He's sent on the foul from, he's very accurate from frees, from play. Personally, I'd put him on goals, but that's just me. Clonea, I spoke to a few Clonea people, and some of them were saying that they might never get as good a chance again to beat Mount Tyne. They were man up, and they were level with, and they were on a momentum, but didn't miss a few chances that might have otherwise been scored. And if they had, they could have pulled out that victory. Now they're under pressure here, but they have the advantage of the game last week, and that I really lay a lot of emphasis on that. I think it's a huge advantage, because no matter how many challenges you play, you never know how you're fixed until you actually go out into the White Heated Championship. You know, Clonea did that last week. Now it'll be interesting. You'll probably go with Rowan Moore here, but I wouldn't be completely discounting Clonea's chances.
Absolutely, and Mac Dara rounding off the round 2 action, Passage versus Tallow, 6 o'clock at Fairfield. There's a real knockout feel to this game, with Ballygunner being the other team in the group. It was Passage that knocked out Tallow of last year's championship by 10 points. Will they do so again, do you think?
You'd be inclined to think so, but again, Tallow have the advantage of playing last weekend, but not much talk about Passage this year. I think Passage, look at it, 7 years ago since they won the county final. They were back in the county final the 2 years after that. I think they might be slightly on the wane since then. They haven't really got any new players coming in now. They will have in another year or two. There's a Mark Fitzgerald who's playing for the minors this year. He's an excellent player. You know, and they have 1 or 2 more to come like that. But at the moment, I think they might be gone a little bit flat. I don't know if Tony agrees with me or not. No, I still think that they might have enough. You know, it'd be interesting to see Nolan Connors here now. Nolan Connors, I'm sure he'll know that Liam Cahill will be watching. He'll watch him proving a point as well, you know. So I think that they might have enough to beat Tallow again.
Yeah, Tony, like no shame for Tallow losing to Ballygunner last time out, but will they be expecting a bit more from their talisman like Jordan Henley and Tommy Ryan come Sunday night?
All right, I say they will. I say they're looking forward to this game. Like, I think Passage aren't as prominent as they were. You know, and was it either last year or the year before, the Ballyduff, who were since relegated, had him beaten, only for, I think, Passage brought in the sub Liam Flynn, and he got a 1-1 or 1-2 or something like that, and changed the game around. You know, so I think Tallow will really be looking forward to this game, and I wouldn't discount them at all. You need it, like everything. You need Tommy Ryan playing well in that. Dara Buckley is very good on the frees. And in general, I think David O'Brien now has moved from full back up to full forward. So a bit of a change around there, but I will give Tallow some hope in this game. And it's a very important year for Passage because they have been slipping a little bit, and this year will tell us an awful lot about how they might fare out over the next few seasons.
So you fancy an upset, Tony?
I would, yeah. Well, maybe it's the Western hat, but I fancy Tallow.
Very good. So we have more to come from Tony and Mac Dara on a busy weekend of club championship action next.
Now you're hurling. Lorna Porca with Tomás McCarthy on WLR.